definitely gonna set fire to something. Too many candles on. Ah, that's my fingernail in the glue. Ah! Fresh hot glue. Ouch. Oh, my butt hurts from sitting on this yoga ball. Hello and welcome back to How to Hen / How to Halloween. This is part 2 of making my Witch Please signage that you could put up around your venue if you were having a Halloweeny type themed hen party, bachelorette weekend. You get the idea. I have my blood red cocktail again. As I always say, if you want to see how these cocktails are made, please go to my Instagram at How to Hen. All of the drinks that I make for these videos are in the cocktails story highlight. So in part 1, we took this board and we painted it and we put our Witch Please phrase on it. So now what I want to do is try and make some kind of border. Now, I played around with some things in between part 1 and now. And I think what I'm going to do is take some tissue paper, like so. We're going to scrunch it up and hot glue it. I would use PVA glue if I had any, but I don't have any. So I'm just using hot glue on the base. And we're going to scrunch it up and turn it into a frame. And I'm going to dry brush it with this metallic sort of coppery paint to make it look a little bit more like a distressed metal. I don't know how this is going to turn out, so I'll show you now. This is the final product. I really hope that it was good and that it worked. Okay, I need to just get fired in. So I have my glue gun here, my paint ready to go in this little paper plate with a dry paintbrush. That's important for this, is that the paintbrush is dry. So let's get one of these sheets. What we're going to do is a one way, and then I think I'm going to fold it in at the bottom here so that we don't have edges hanging out. Fold it in like so, and we want to take that folded edge and I want to scrunch it. So I'm sort of rolling it in on itself, and that I feel is the sort of look I'm going for. I don't want it to be totally straight. I want to gather it up a little bit, and we're just going to glue it as we go. This is risky, but let's do it. And it's important to leave a little bit of overhang as well, because you don't want to see the edge of the board. So we've got this extra tufty bit here. So I wonder, I would like to try and create like, you know, a frame. So I think I'm going to leave that up like this and start a new line underneath it, and then try and curl it around on top. Right here. Now I think just to keep things even, I've left this tufty bit at this end, so I'm going to leave this tufty long bit, because it's too long, at this end, so that we're sort of even. So I don't have a big curly corner up here as yet, but I think what I'm going to end up doing is creating another one and sticking it on top and seeing how that looks. But in order to do that, this needs to be quite flat. Oops, stop tearing the tissue! I'm going to let it do its tufty thing here, and do one more on here. And then we need to figure out the corners. There's definitely going to be a lot of me going back round and sticking down bits that are flapping in the wind. Alright, so we have a really rough frame, and what I want to do now is I want to go around and we're going to curl these corners in to see if we can create some sort of ornate frameness. And I'm going to go around in all these sort of baggy bits. I'm going to stick down just so that there's less big baggy bits that sort of can change size like this, because that looks a little bit like a bin bag. But first let's see what we can make of this. So I think we want to scrunch the end and then like curl it in on itself. Now I haven't actually left very much to do that with. And I need to stand up for this, I think. So because I haven't left quite enough, it's curling not quite as big as I would have liked, but actually there's something kind of witchy and Halloweeny about the fact that it's slightly uncurling, you know, that it's not quite this big, tight, ornate look, that it's sort of like starting to unfurl on itself. I kind of like that idea. So I think I will just stick it down like that. Ah! I knew this bit was going to be the difficult bit. Ah! God damn it! Right, I don't hate it. I think I can probably give it even more depth once I dry brush and paint it on. Let's do this one. So, these two little corners, this one and this one down here, are quite small. I think what I'll do is try and make some bigger ones to stick on the other corners. So if I tuck this sort of ready-made roll under here, then I can sort of act like it's part of this. I like how that one looks. I need to make this one match it somehow. No! Why? Okay, I'm going to stick this one down because it looks nice. And I'm terrified to move it, even if I can't get this one matching just yet. Okay, right. Alright, so I'm pretty pleased now with how this is looking. I think it's not super even. This one of the corners, I think this one isn't great. I've stuck it down a little bit more, and I also added a couple of little bits of tissue where I thought there was like gaps and it needed it. So now the fun bit where I make it look all like slightly metal. I'm not going to like paint it gold because that just wouldn't look good, like solid gold. So I'm going to dry brush it a kind of coppery so it just looks still black but with like a slight hint of metal where it just picks up on all the edges. Okay, so the key with dry brushing is to take your paint. I've got this like copper sort of coloured one, and it has to be a dry paintbrush. Now this one isn't great because I used it earlier and haven't washed it, but it's dry, which is the main part, because if it's wet it paints on thick like paint, whereas if you put a tiny bit on a dry brush like so, oops, this paint's quite dry as well because it's been sitting out, because this is how long it's taken me to do this, and you put it on the brush and then just brush off back and forward the excess until there's just like a little bit of paint left, residue, and then when you paint that on, only the edges and the texture will pick up the paint and not the whole thing. So you do need to do it quite often and make sure your brush is quite dry. It can be quite a long task, however, it really does brush up and go into all the lines and the texture of the tissue paper and will make it look like a brushed metal. So I'm just going to keep going like that all the way around. Alright, so all painted. So you see, now that I have dry brushed around the edges, it's got this sort of metallic kind of glow. I think it looks quite blue in that light. The camera's quite far away and I don't have my glasses on, so I can't tell. However, in person, it looks pretty good and I'm pretty pleased with it. There's so much more that you could do, you know, you could really go all out. You could really go all out and embellish it and add all sorts of things. So there's another video of which may or may not already be on my channel. I think maybe this video is going on first. So keep an eye out in the description box for how to make these spooky little hands. So you could, you know, you could have some of these just stuck like around the edges coming in. That would look pretty cool and pretty spooky. I'm not going to do that just now, one, because I only made one of these and I think you would need at least two. You could have one on either side, that would look pretty cool. But I'm just going to leave it as it is because I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this yet, if we're going to have a Halloween party this year. I hope so. But yeah, I hope you now know how to make a really cool sign that you could use at your Halloween themed hen or just any Halloween event. Honestly, a board, a Sharpie, just black tissue, like I'm so impressed with how ornate that looks. Just black tissue paper and some copper paint and any old paintbrush, just dry. And it's so simple. It takes a long time waiting for the paint to dry and then, you know, dry brushing. But you could do your first coat of paint, go off and do something that you need to do, like ironing or whatever, and then you could sit and do the dry brushing while you're listening to a podcast, watching Netflix, whatever. It's not difficult. It takes a little bit of time, but it's not hard, and it looks so cool. So if you are having an event where you would like a sign like this, you can make it say whatever you want to say. Just make sure when you're printing out your type, it says whatever phrase you would like to say. You can personalise it for your bride if it is a hen, or you can make it say any sort of spooky phrase that you like. If you enjoyed that, please let me know. Give me a comment, a like, a share, whatever. I always love hearing from people. If you would like to see more Halloween themed crafting with cocktails, yes, it's still here, then please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can press the little bell because I only post once a week, even on the run up to Halloween. I know. So you won't get lots of spam. If you want to ask me anything at all about hen bachelorette parties not related to Halloween, you can do that. My details are in the description box, or wherever you're watching this, you can drop me a DM on Facebook and Instagram. And also visit www.howtohen.com for all of your other hen planning needs that don't necessarily relate to Halloween. Alright? Happy henning, guys, and happy Halloween! Love you, bye!